What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all for tuning in. This is a special trade announcement episode of the Crawford Chronicles. I'm one of your hosts. I am remote today. PK is here. Homer, Chris, Subi Bones, Bryles. Phyllis, how are y'all doing?
Yeah, man. My day was actually pretty quiet until about 9:30. That's when kind of shit hit the fan with me getting all the messages about Lance McCullers being traded, and then first I had to verify that it was true. So then once I was able to do that, then it became the waiting game of the rest of the pieces, and then an even further waiting game of who the Astros would get back. But besides that, man, pretty normal day. Browns, how's your day going until all hell broke loose?
Yeah, busy, normal Wednesday. But other than that, that was about it, man. So I'm looking forward to getting into this trade talk and going from there. Take it away, PK.
Yeah, no, look, as you can see, guys, I'm in my car. I'm out of town. I'm with some family. We are at Lake McQueenie this week, and we've been dodging the rain. Rain hasn't cooperated, but it's okay. It's all right. We got time to do this podcast real quick, kind of break down the trade a little bit. And I think Chris has something that Will Kunkel posted on X that he kind of wants to discuss. So, in case you haven't heard or been living under a rock for the last few hours, Lance McCullers and Colton Gordon are being sent off to Milwaukee, and in return, we get Jaden Fielder, who is the son of Prince Fielder, grandson of Cecil Fielder, left-handed bat, DH, left fielder, second baseman. He's been playing at A-ball for the Brewers. So before we get into kind of just the send-off for LMJ, what were your initial thoughts with this trade that went down, Bryles?
First thing, I was shocked. I couldn't believe they were able to move that contract. I thought that there was no way that we were going to be able to get him off of this roster at any time soon, just from his performance. Because, he's pushing 7 with his ERA right now. He's already been injured. So, with all those things going on, I didn't think there was any way that Dana Brown was going to be able to move him. I know that there were a couple of other factors in that, which Chris wants to get into, and I definitely have some comments on that. But my first reaction was just straight up shock that the Brewers, one, wanted him, and then two, like I said, we were able to move that contract.
Yeah, honestly, I think shocked was kind of the perfect word to kind of sum it up. It was one of those things that I was like, man, there's no way this is true, because of the salary that Lance McCullers, was having for the rest, for what's left of his contract. Plus, you had, he just did not have a good season so far this season. So he was not on my bingo board or bingo card of the guy. If there was going to be a guy to, kind of shock us being trade wise, it would be McCullers, because I kind of saw that he was almost kind of untradeable. But then, you see them also adding, Colton Gordon into it, which, we got to see him kind of, grow up a couple years ago, winning the, PCL championship and then the AAA championship with the Space Cowboys, to him getting called up last season, to them hold, him one of the handful of Space Cowboys that held it down. But at the end of the day, this is a massive salary dump. It's what this is. It's not like there were some people that were saying, hoping, maybe we'll get a Churio. And I'm like, dude, there ain't no way in hell you're getting Churio. Not in this trade. This was a dump.
Maybe a churro.
Yeah, maybe a churro, maybe some chorizo, maybe. But yeah, all this was a salary dump for the Astros. So this, hopefully, they're clearing cap for something. And I think this is the first big trade that's going to officially kick off trade season. So for it to come from the Astros, it's kind of a nice feeling. The fact that, we're setting the pace, we're getting things going. But I can only think that there's going to be more corresponding, moves, like I said, to clear salary, to maybe bring on some more, some help, because the Astros definitely, after the first half of the season that they've had, they need some help.
Yeah, so no, I completely agree. Salary dump here. I believe that if I remember correctly, it brings them under the CBT at 16 million under, I believe, with this move. Astros are going to eat some of that salary, of course, right? Because it's such a big contract. The Colton Gordon piece, I think was just, that was just had to be included to make the deal go through. I don't think you can I don't think you can just hand over LMJ and that salary, even though that you're going to eat some of it, without another piece that's going to be younger, under control from a team perspective. So look, Chris, you hit it, man. Colton Gordon came up last season when we needed, with Jason Alexander, with Brandon Walter, right? And they held down that rotation while we were setting major league records for injuries. Not the season that I think he was expecting this season as far as where he started and where what he did when he was up. So, we thank him for the service, for sure, Colton. Go out there and, good luck to you, LMJ. Look, as much shit as we give him about being a barista and missing the 2 years and still and all his contract, like I go back to 2017 on Game 7 out in LA where him and Charlie Morton, held it down to get this first World Series championship. I go back to the 23 straight curveballs, right? Even though you knew it was coming, like you couldn't touch him. Also go back to the World Series game that Dusty left him out there in Philly to get completely shelled, right? To save your pen. Right, he took it for the team. I didn't, there was no reports of him bitching and moaning. I mean, he's an H-Town legend, right? He's a legend. We don't have one of those championships for sure without LMJ on the hill. And it was one of your homegrown guys early on, right? Like that was kind of the thing that made him a little bit more special, is that he was built from within. So there's so much, adoration to go around for LMJ, even though like he has been taking the brunt of, jokes for the last few seasons, but they're really, without him, he was an integral piece of those two championship teams that we had.
Yeah, and I think also another very underrated Lance McCullers, as we stroll down memory lane, was the start that he had against Seattle, which led into the 18-inning game. I think he went 6 scoreless and 6 shutout innings. Yeah, it's just unfortunate the way, and like I said, I'm going to get into more of the unfortunate side of, Lance McCullers. I mean, but, it's just, the man couldn't stay healthy. I mean, but I agree. I mean, I think he's going to be a guy that, I don't know if I would put him up as a legend. I mean, but he definitely has status where this man will never buy another beer in the city of Houston. I mean, so I'm not trying to take away from all the fantastic stuff he did, all of his contributions that, led to, the 2 World Series. It's just, I'm still kind of almost in shock a little bit that he's the guy that they pulled the trigger on as of right now. Browse, what do you got?
Yeah, he's got 2 World Series rings with us, and now we've only got one guy left on the team that still has 2 World Series rings. So, that really is a big deal, to be honest with you. And I know he's going to be remembered for that, but he's also going to be remembered for all the injuries. Just like you said, there were so many years that's like, okay, well, hey, LMJ is going to come back. Well, okay, show it to me. And then when he finally did come back, we all had high expectations, and it just didn't pan out the way we thought. So, that was the unfortunate part of it. But the fortunate part, you and PK were talking about, I definitely don't want people to forget what the contributions that he had to this team, to those 2 World Series titles were, and also to all those American League championship titles as well. So don't actually think that, we could have done everything that we did without this guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. So Chris, what did you have for some unfortunates? We hit him with that. We'll move on to JD.
Yeah. So I'm scrolling through all the tweets, and a tweet from Will Kunkel came up, and I wanted to reply to it, but I figured I would just save it for tonight. So he goes out and he tweets out, Lance McCullers Jr. was an Astros legend. He blew out his arm in order to bring a World Series to Houston. Too many fans showed him too much disrespect. Then he goes into his question of how will you remember Lance McCullers? And here's the problem I have with that, because it's like, I feel like I don't think and we just went into our stroll down memory lane. I don't think Astros fans hate Lance McCullers. I think we've all collectively appreciate the things that he has done, which again led to 2 World Series. So it's down to him and Altuve, or their last 2. Well, now that McCullers is gone, they're the only 2 guys left that have both the 2017 and 2022 World Series. I think And I don't even want to call it disrespect. I'm willing to say that the majority of it of Astros fans, it's more frustration because, you know, in Lance McCullers' last 8 seasons, he has missed 3 complete seasons. In 2021 was his only full, complete, healthy season. So I don't want to call it the Astros fans disrespected Lance McCullers. I just think it was more of like frustration. You know, he's a guy like PK said that, he grew up through the Astros farm system. You know, he was a guy that basically, along with, Correa, Altuve and George Springer, started that spearhead of, taking the Astros away from the rebuild into, the dynasty that they become. So I didn't really agree with that as far as like he was he was way too disrespected. I just think it was more of a frustration thing. And like at some point, I mean, like I said, in the last 8 seasons, he had 1 healthy season. Then he was doing the HEB commercials and stuff like that. So I just think that like I think us as fans just try to find like the humorous side of things to kind of be like, hey, I mean, of course, everyone wants to see McCullers, you know, in those 8 years, be the McCullers that he was before he got hurt. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants that. I mean, so I just think it just became so like we just became lethargic to it. It's like, okay, Lance McCullers is hurt for the season. All right, so it's Tuesday. So like when I read that tweet, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I feel like he was kind of coming at Astros fans, and it's like, listen, I just think it's just more of like frustration with him always being hurt. That's just the way I read it. I don't know if you guys read it any other way. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think that he's always going to be beloved in Houston, no matter what. I mean, by absolutely everybody. But if we're talking about, tried and true Astros fans that know the numbers, that watch all the games, that, follow this team very, very closely, they are going to be frustrated. And they're going to be frustrated because we locked him down to this huge contract. And then it was just an albatross the whole time. I mean, think about, we could have possibly gotten, somebody else at the trade deadline. We could have signed this free agent. We could have done this if we weren't paying Lance McCullers the contract that he had. But at the same time, you're right. We definitely wouldn't have been there in 2017 or 2022. So is it being a little greedy as an Astros fan like that, watches all the games to say, hey, look, thank you so much for your service. However, it would have been really nice if we could have either figured something out with your contract, or you could have maybe come back a little bit sooner. But missing 3 whole seasons with an albatross contract like that, taking up payroll, and then that's obviously going to make a huge difference when it comes to getting other players that can contribute. I do have a problem with that. So, and then when he did come back, I mean, we didn't expect him to be lights out 8-1 with a 2.2 ERA or anything. But at the same time, we did expect him to be competitive, especially with all the work that he's put in. So when you put in that much work in the minors, in training camps and stuff like that, and then they say, okay, you're ready to go. And then you get him up there and he just gets blown up. I mean, that's fine. But the last thing I will say about that is I was at the game with my daughter when he got shelled in the first 2 innings for like 9 runs this season. And, if he felt disrespected, I don't understand why, because he did not get booed off the mound. He was absolutely applauded anytime he was out there and did something good. Nobody booed him. This is not like New York. This is not like Philly, which if you guys watch the All-Star game, you see how they treat everybody else that's not a Philly fan or a Philly player, excuse me. So, with that said, I really hope that he understands how much Houston loves him, and despite what Will Kunkel, is putting out there.
Yeah, look, and sorry, it's getting dark out in this car. I only have a baby light to go, so if I go pitch black, my camera is still on. But no, I think it's for Chris. You think you nailed it, man. It's the frustration. I think it's all the way around. I mean, surely there's frustration from Lance, right, for not fulfilling his end of the bargain when it comes to the contract. That was a huge contract that we gave him based off of the success that he had, and then for him to be injured the whole time. I mean, like, it's terrible, right? So his body just broke down. and he had the two arm injuries. And look, man, like he is a pitcher. These guys have these arm injuries, and he didn't come back to what he was prior to, and it sucks to see that. But at some point, right, like Father Time catches up. It always wins. So, like for me, there wasn't anger with Lance at all. It was frustration. Chris, you nailed it. It was frustration on we're not getting the guy that we were expecting to get at the salary number that we were getting. And Browse, you hit it, like that number on the salary cap, the number on the books, right, was just really high based on what we were getting. So, look, it sucks that he got moved to Milwaukee. Milwaukee, we talked about it, last week. Brendan Woodruff went on the IL again. They got Shoemake from us for cash considerations, and then now they go get some pitching help with McCullers and Gordon. And then in return, you get Jaden Fielder, like I said, DH, lefty, bats right, throws left. Bats left, throws right. DH, left fielder, second baseman. He's been playing an A-ball for Milwaukee. I think he was hitting like 263 or 233, I believe, this season. So he's 21 or 22. So, he still has some years down there to develop, but you get another left-handed bat down there. That's your return, man. That's your return.
All right. So before we go ahead.
Thank you.
I think. All right. So, hey, before we get out of here, before we wrap up, and I'll go last, for outside of it being Lance McCullers, him being homegrown, player, him being one of the cornerstones that, led us to the 2 World Series. How do you guys grade this trade as far as, go ahead and give the trade a grade. Browse, you go first.
If we're going straight from the trade and I'm looking at numbers, I mean, I've got to give it an A, or actually an A+. And the reason I say that, I had no idea they were going to be able to move him. I thought that was going to be the contract we were going to live with, not only for the rest of this season, but I didn't think anybody else was going to try to bite on it. So, we give Dana Brown a hard time about a lot of stuff. The fact that he was able to do that. And I know we had to throw in Gordon, but at the same time, it was a salary dump. Obviously, we're expecting a corresponding move coming up soon, or at least we're going to have cash to play with at the trade deadline. So, with that, and we got a prospect out of it, and that prospect's last name is Fielder, I'll give it an A+, because I don't see any way how, if you look at it straight up on paper with numbers, that this wasn't a huge win.
All right, BK.
Yeah, I give it an A solely for that. Like, I didn't think you would be able to move Lance at all based on the contract, right? And you're freeing up the cap space. So I give it an A for that. I mean, I just didn't think LMJ had any value on the market, really. And you get a young piece, probably it's more of a low risk, high reward type of move in that sense. You free up the cap space to potentially make some more moves here in the next couple of weeks. So I give it an A. I honestly do.
All right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and agree with you guys. I know that from I don't want to call it a personal, but definitely from a fan perspective, I know we've all joked around, PK said, like Browse said earlier in the episode, we've all joked around about the HEB commercials, but man, again, this is a guy that, Astros fans, from the day he was drafted all the way until today, you've seen this guy grow up in an Astros uniform. So from a fan perspective, everything he's done in the playoffs that we talked about earlier, it sucks, man. And it kind of sucks because, again, this is not the way we wanted to see LMJ's last ride go. From a baseball point of view, the Astros traded from a position that they had a lot of depth at. I mean, you still have got pitchers down in AAA. You've got, Renel Blanco, you got Hayden Wesniewski coming back. So they have depth at starting pitching. Now, I'm not saying it's great depth at starting pitching, but they have depth that they can move. And the fact that you got Lance McCullers off your books as far as financially, it cost you Colton Gordon. I mean, it is what it is. And you even got a prospect back. I think that as far as, like Browl said, numbers wise, I give it an A from a fan portion. It's just sad to see this is how the Astros and McCullers chapter ends.
Agreed.
Yeah. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I think
No,
that's it.
totally agree.
Move on. We see what's going to happen the next couple of weeks. Uh, um, and we're going to continue. So make sure you stay locked in with.
All right. And I think PK's dying
PK.
out there. Yeah.
Got it. Hey, look, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, man.
Right.
That's what it is.
There it is. All right. So we'll go ahead and let PK go because Mother Nature and his obviously his connection's not helping him out. But what I want to go ahead and thank everybody for taking time to checking us out. Again, I know this is not scheduled as far as like this is not our normal time that we come on, but we kind of had to come together and talk about this McCullers trade. But hey, if you liked what you heard tonight and you want to find out when we go on live again, we will be live again tomorrow, and we go live again on Sunday. So again, I want to say thank you. I'm Homer Chris. I got my guy Browse here. We are the Crawford Chronicles. And we will catch you guys tomorrow night
with better production value.
Don't make any promises we can't keep. Oh boy!
All right, guys.
I'm surprised PK even got reception out there.